this week's edition of WCS Sports Connection. I'm your co-host, Jimmy Qualls, and with me, as always, my co-host, Tate Mathews. We have a very special guest with us today. We have the head coach, the new head coach of the Ravenwood Raptors football, Coach Richie Wessman. How are you doing today?
Great. Pleasure to meet you.
Great. Thank you for being here. It's your first time on the show, and we are so excited about you taking this job and hearing what all you have to do with the Ravenwood Raptors, where you've been, things that are going on right now. I know that our viewers are as well. So let's start with you. Coach Wessman, talk about where you've been, what you've done up to this point.
Sure. You know, I'm from California originally and started playing at USC. From there, kind of got into my coaching career, had a few good seasons out there, won a couple national championships. Followed our defensive line coach over to Mississippi, coached at Ole Miss, went to Clemson from there. From Clemson, I reunited with Coach Chow, who was my coordinator, and also worked for him at USC with the Tennessee Titans. Spent 6 years there, had various positions, got promoted twice, mainly worked with offense. From there, went up to a D2 school in Minnesota, had a ton of responsibility up there, and we took a bad program and started to get it, going the right direction. So it was a lot of fun there, broke a lot of passing records and whatnot. And then the last couple of years, I've been working as an offensive consultant for a team in the UK.
So you've run the gamut of things. You've been
Yes.
from one coast to the other.
Mm-hmm.
You've been north to south. Let's talk about some of the coaches you work with, Pete Carroll being one of those. Give us a little insight about Pete Carroll.
He is probably the most competitive person you're ever going to meet, full of energy. What you see on TV it's him. It's him, absolutely. He's a guy that I've learned a tremendously large amount about coaching and really modeling my style after him.
Well, you worked with the Titans here, head coach Jeff Fisher at the time. Give us a little insight about Coach Fisher himself and what your roles were at the Tennessee Titans.
Sure. Started as offensive assistant, helped out with quarterbacks, spent a little time with wide receivers, then became offensive quality control, helped out with the offensive line, broke down film, really was the right-hand man for Mike Heimerdinger, our offensive coordinator, helped out Mike Munchak quite a bit as well. Coach Fisher he's always that guy who's one step ahead with his planning, knows the right thing, right string to pull. He's good at that kind of stuff.
One thing I always heard about him was how organized he was.
Extremely.
And the legendary story is the year they made it to the Super Bowl, he already had the itinerary set for the week, and he had it set for like 2-3 years for if they went there. That'd be one thing I'd love to hear you talk about. Apparently, you could not be more organized than he was. And going into a job like this, especially, for a lot of circumstances that went into it, but as late as it is, you're going to have to be very organized. I'm assuming that's something you took from him as a head coach.
Absolutely. We're working very hard to get over-organized and be prepared for any situation. And, of course, we might adjust when we get there. But we really are, as a staff, working extremely hard day and night to put that plan together.
And that's a big part of the college game and the pro game. And I think that's, it's got to be a part here. You only have them so many hours a day.
Absolutely.
Really for what? I guess during the season 4 days a week because you're playing on Friday night. So that's a part I know just a little bit talking to you. That's going to be a big part of what you all are about. There's not going to be a whole lot of wasted time.
No, not at all.
And you've got the different dynamic there. Obviously, the pro level, you know what you're working with. You know who you've got. College level, you've known the guys coming in because you recruited them. But when you're on the high school level, you got to do the best with what mom and daddy send you. So with that being the segue into this question, what's your first order of business as a new head coach at Ravenwood?
Really, it's establishing the way we work. How we do things is the most important thing that's going to help us be successful. And it's working with effort, attention to detail, understanding what we're doing, playing smart, playing fast. And so that's really the work we're putting in, and it starts this afternoon.
Well, it's not a situation that a lot of people let me say this. A lot of people might shy away from the opportunity to coach at Ravenwood because of given the past, the situation they had last year, the last 2 years, been in the state championship game, won one out of the two. So a lot of people may see that as, well, that's something I don't want to step into because I don't want to be the guy that follows the guy, and all that business. Does that shouldn't play in. Most people should build off that culture because there's a culture already set. So what you're saying when you're going in with this work plan, those kids, you kind of got a leg up.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And some people don't view it that way, but I feel like in your situation, you've got a leg up. They have a good work ethic already established. It's not something that you've got to take a team that was not successful turn it around, make them believe they can win. They're already there. So now you just fine tweak what you've got going.
Absolutely. We have 70 plus guys coming to morning workouts, and the rest of those who aren't are probably playing another sport. And so there's absolutely a positive culture there, and we're tweaking it a little bit to make it our own. But really, it's definitely a ship that's going the right direction.
I mean, you think 70, 75 players right now, not everybody there because they're in other sports. You've got to account for at least 20 to 30 coming in from freshman, JV ball. So you're looking at 100 kids right now. It's a lot of set of eyes that need to watch. So give us a little insight on your coaching staff right now currently that you're putting together.
Yeah, currently we have some fantastic coaches who are returning. We got Alex Trachis back as receiver coach. He's just a brilliant offensive mind. Really excited to have him back. On the defensive side of the ball, we have Andy Elrod working with the defensive line. He's just a legend in the high school world. We have Zach Farkas as linebacker coach, just another brilliant guy. We brought on Ryan Fowler on board. He's a guy who's played in the NFL for the Cowboys, the Titans, and the Jets. Got some great experience under some fantastic coaches. And he's been a defensive coordinator at the college as well as high school level. So he brings a lot of knowledge and insight into what's going on that side of the ball. And we're working on filling out the staff as well. There's a couple of names that we're going to get out here soon and really putting that thing together, hopefully this week.
It's probably easier to decide what you're going to be defensively without seeing your kids, I would think, than offensively. But you might know on both sides of the ball as well. But have you decided what you're going to run on defense yet? And if you have on offense, what you're going to run on offense?
You know, it's we take a pro approach to what we do, and what that means is that we're going to look at our talent. We're going to make them the best they can be. We're going to see what they do best. From there, we're going to see what we're playing against and have them do what they do in a manner that's going to beat the other team. And so we're taking that approach. So it's really a process. And that process has begun. It started a few weeks ago, and we're working toward it. I mean, there's some things we're going to do. We're going to run some zone running game, some power, some stuff like that. Absolutely. Defensively, we're still working through that. There's a lot of pros to a 4-3. There's a lot of pros to a 3-4, and we're trying to fit all the pieces together. So we're still working at that.
In basketball, the question would be, would you classify yourself as an inside-out guy, post first, get a post touch, kick out for the three, or in football, are you a pass first guy? Or obviously, I know the schemes. You got to set up one or the other. What are you setting up?
Yeah, see, that's something that I actually take after Pete Carroll. We're going to be able to run the ball and throw the ball, and we're going to be able to beat you doing both. So,
but if it came down to it, most people associate Pete Carroll and USC with passing the ball, but really, they're going to run the ball too. And then that's part of it. Yeah, they're going to run the ball.
You have to be able to run the football.
And think of who he had setting up the pass.
That's right.
You've got Lightning out there.
Thunder, Lightning, Reggie Bush, and Lindell White.
Yep. How could you forget Reggie Bush,
group.
right?
Yes.
But and with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and script here a little bit. With some of the guys coming back, we have watched over the last 2 years. I mean, some fantastic running game for Ravenwood. Seth Rowling started it off with some great outside help with Van Jefferson. So you had dual threat there. So if you go throw, you have the open running lanes. Now, last year, his younger brother comes in, Chris Rowland. They don't even hardly pass the ball nearly as much. It's probably not even on the radar considering what they did the year before. So both has happened. Now you come in. We've got does the running back coming up, Nelson. We've seen this happen before. I feel very comfortable with the fact that this kid is going to be an integral part into your scheme. Now, it's way early. I understand that. It's way early what's going to happen. But what have you seen out of him thus far that makes you feel confident that the running game will be established?
I think one thing that helps the running game is we have 4 or 5 offensive linemen returning, which is a great thing as well. At a running back spot, he ran a 4.5 40, which is humming. And we can help him get his start a little bit better and improve that time just a little bit. Strength-wise, he put up some phenomenal numbers. Athletically, his jumps were incredible. He's a kid that's a leader through work and what he does that way. And he's playing rugby right now too, and he's being real physical out there. So he brings a physical presence to the game, no doubt about it.
Well, and the thing that Ravenwood has established through the years is you have kids that are going to compete, and so I'm assuming that's part of what attracted you to the job.
Absolutely.
But and you were mentioning those numbers. You got 70 kids coming. I think sometimes people don't realize that's at 5:30 in the morning. Mm-hmm. You got 70 kids coming at 5:30 in the morning. You're not going to have to worry about effort and competing with that. And so, he was mentioning earlier, you get them in the right place. But then that's the great thing. There have been some great coaches at Ravenwood, but that's the number one thing. You got kids that can compete, and you got older kids showing the younger kids. You don't have to mess with that.
Correct.
Now what you can do is improve upon it, but that's a big part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So let's look real quick. We're going to look ahead, look back, and look ahead. Region 3, 6A football. We went into the year, Tate and I both thought that it might have been subpar football, not the greatest region. However, we go back and look at the records. Obviously, Ravenwood finishing first last year at 14-1, 7-0 in region play. Obviously, won the 6A title. Franklin 8-4, 5-2, won the first round game. McGavock 7-5, 5-2. Overton 7-5, 5-2. Mount Juliet 6-6, 4-3. Wilson Central kind of came out of nowhere there, struggled. They only won 2 region games and then won 2 playoff games, beating Franklin in the second round. Lebanon and Antioch rounded it out. Now, 6 of the 8 teams won the first round. Now, I wished I could have looked across the other regions and see how many of those teams. Now, the pressure's off in the playoffs. You're automatically in. So that's a good thing. And you take that pressure off. You work on things all year long, just like Wilson Central did, go in. And regardless of what happens, you have an opportunity to win that first round game. But the football tape in Region 3 6A was not bad this past year.
No, it wasn't. And, Overton was you look at their schedule, their overall record, they played a tough schedule. A lot of these 6A guys, it's hard to get really easy non-region games. So you're right. And the neat thing about it was it hits close to home with Franklin. They knew they were going to be young. They knew they were in the playoffs, so they could really kind of take their time making sure they got better. And I think, outside of a couple of injuries, Franklin was playing their best football by the end of the year. So that's the neat thing about the being in early is being in no matter what. Early on, you can play a little bit tougher non-region games, and you can work on getting your team better because you don't have to worry about that early season loss.
Well, we had Coach Webb in this seat early in the year. You never, listen to him talk, it may be struggle to make it to 500.
He's Lou Holtz, man. He's a Notre Dame fan.
But you know what I'm saying. It's going to be tough or young, and then he goes 8-4, 5-2. But, I think it's impressive at the fact that 6 of 8. Have you done any research at all on these teams, on the opponents? Have you reached out to any of these folks? Do you know what they're looking at or what you're going to be looking at, what you're going to be facing with these teams?
Yeah, I've watched all the games from last year. There's definitely some good football being played, but I think that's something that it actually benefits when you're playing a tough schedule week in, week out, and then you get into the playoffs. It's only a good thing because you've been through tougher tests and you're ready for more things.
What are some things that you're going to do? What I like to call program builders. What are you going to do with your incoming freshman JV that will get them interested, get your numbers continue to grow? What are you going to do some program builders with those guys? What are your plans?
We're going to have a future Raptors camp this summer to get kind of the young guys going. We're going to have a program that includes them on game day, for those young men and really get them excited about the program. I think when they get to meet us as a coaching staff, when they get to see the excitement, the energy we're playing with, it's going to be a fun thing to be around, the competitive spirit we have. So it's naturally going to be something that, because of the way we do things, is just going to draw people in. And with the freshmen and whatnot, we're going to be actually with them, coaching them, Tuesdays through Thursdays. And so they're going to have that varsity level coaching their whole career at Ravenwood.
That was one of the things I was going to ask you. There's a couple of different ways to do it, but being new and not really knowing any of them. So you all are going to coach, the varsity staff's going to coach the freshman staff. Will they be together? The freshman players, will they be together in practice? You're going to break it up?
Yeah, we'll be together Tuesday through Thursday. We're going to have a group that'll actually coach them during games, and we're going to get there and actually, take part in that for parts of it as well. But yeah, we'll absolutely be together, Tuesday through Thursday.
So with that, have you thought about some ways to reach out to the community? Because I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, Ravenwood community. Let's talk about that for a minute. Tate and I have had a very close relationship with these folks because of game day and being out there and knowing all these folks. Ravenwood's community right now, specifically football, second to none.
Yep.
It's their student body, not even close, second to none. And I'm saying this apparently from afar, because if I went to any other schools and said that, they'd be trying to get us on the way out. But the truth is there. When we go to do game day, 2 hours prior to doing game day, they're in the parking lot ready to go, and they come in. The students are there. It's a 95 to 100% participation ratio in that school. Friday nights, not only in the WCS Sports Conference, but specifically at Ravenwood, that is something that nobody misses. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, well, you look at game day last year against the Brentwood game. It started filming at 6 o'clock. The students filled up an entire half of the stadium. I mean, it went from the end all the way to the middle of the press box. I mean, that's amazing. I mean, that was 1 hour before they were into it, and you're right. They had the biggest crowd at the state championship game. And the other thing is they're active during it. It's not like they're there and on their phones checking. I mean, they cheer the whole time. You know, it's hard to get a home field advantage as far as crowd goes in high school, but you have it at Ravenwood. It's been fun to watch.
And, you know, you mentioned something. They broke the record at the state championship game for tickets sold. 5,500, I think, pre-sold tickets, which is unheard of. And there were 17,000 people there total for that game. And it's become a household. It's a household name. G2 Bar is a household name right now, and it's awesome to inherit that. That's what I was telling you. Now, for your sake, maybe a little bit extra pressure that you may not want coming in as a new head coach, but at the same time, I would rather have that pressure than the pressure of completely turning around a program that has been down so long.
I would say I heard this about Kelly Holcomb. He played for Boots Donnelly, went to the pros, played
Cleveland?
for Sam Weiss. Well, he went a couple of different places, but he's at Sam Weiss with Tampa Bay, and they're going to put him in. And Sam Weiss says, you think he's ready for it? Can he handle the pressure? And one of the assistants says he played college football for Boots Donnelly. He can handle this. I would say anybody who worked for Ed Ogeron at Ole Miss understands pressure, right?
Yeah, you know, and really the pressure for me is my expectations on myself are going to be higher than whatever anybody else would expect out of Ravenwood this next year. So for me, it's it's that positive. Those good things are way better because I'm going to have that expectation anyway.
Have you thought about plans to? I know it's awful early. Plans for the community. What do you want to? How you want to bring those folks in? Any kind of special events or anything like that you thought about? I know this. I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah,
right here.
yeah. You know, we've been toying around with a lot of good ideas, but nothing that I'd like to share yet. But there's definitely some good things in the works.
Okay. So thus far, you've been working with the guys in the morning. We've seen some workouts. What are some really good things that you've seen specifically from your players?
You know, for the most part, they're there. There's effort. They actually, you know, they've been taught how to do things in the weight room. They have pretty decent technique for a high school group. You know, and they're really excited and into it. And there's that positive culture is fantastic.
And it's probably nice that you don't have to facilitate that. They're wanting to be there.
Yes,
they're the ones getting it up. They're the ones jacking each other up. Let's go, high five, and you know, try to break your own records, things like that. And that's always nice to have.
One thing, I'm assuming you're going to coach the quarterbacks?
I am, yes.
Okay, so this will be, the third year in a row that they've got a brand-new quarterback going in. So whoever the quarterback will be this year will not be a starter from last year. You know, it is what it is, coaching's coaching. But do you kind of like that you not only do you have it's going to be a brand-new offense, brand-new head coach, brand-new quarterback coach, you got a kid that you're going to be able to start working with from day one. You know, there are a lot of different ways to do it, but you know, once you've been a part of that system, that's kind of what you know. You're building from the ground level up. Kind of walk us through how do you go about approach coaching the quarterback?
Yeah, you know, the first thing is obviously technique and the throwing mechanics. Just start from the ground up and take little itty-bitty steps and just work on the ankles, then the knees and the hips, and kind of from the floor up and really building that good torque and that strength and that delivery. You know, and then in terms of the game, you know, we're starting a football 101 series next week where we're going to teach these young men basic football theology, basic football principles, how we're identifying defenses, the terminology we use, our formations, kind of walking through all those things so they really grow mentally and start to understand the game. And then from there, you kind of start to continue to build up to bigger pictures to where we can talk through entire field concepts and reading defenses and how to distribute the football.
Is this going to be on the field exercise? Is it a classroom exercise?
Classroom.
Do you break it down like you're taking a particular group and your coaches break it down with groups, or is this as a whole, or how does that work?
We're separating the day's offense defense in case we have guys who might play both ways. And then from there, we're starting as an entire unit and then kind of trickling down into breakdown meetings.
Well, and the neat thing now is you've been obviously on the pro and the college level. you've had access to be able to video and to interact with your players when you're not in the same location. Now with Huddle, Huddle's one of the best things that's happened to high school football, I think. I mean, you can actually give them exercises. So what are some things, how do you coach on the iPad, let's say on Huddle? How do you coach a quarterback through that? I mean, there's exercises that you do, but what are you trying to, is it decision making, recognition? What are you trying to accomplish with that?
You want a kid to understand the concept and kind of a mental checklist of what we're trying to accomplish and what we're trying to get done and why we're going to make a decision we're going to make. And it almost becomes kind of a decision tree. We start with the first thing, we make a decision. From there, there's multiple options that kind of branch off from that. And then while we're going through it, every single rep, every single time we're watching film, we're working through the same checklist. So it becomes routine, second nature to us. And we kind of make those decisions and end up getting to the right place to distribute the football.
I can remember, there's a lot of parallels to this, but I remember when Coach Rutledge first got to NBA, if you have a kid at quarterback that can make decisions, reads, and I'm not just talking about, one read. I mean, talk about an advantage there. When he can, if they do this, we look here, and they do this, we do that. If you can get to about 2 reads in high school football, if he can somewhat throw, you got a chance to be successful, right?
Absolutely.
And Independence, Andrew Bunch is living proof of what you're speaking of. Now, speaking of that, there's we talked about good football in the region. Let's talk about football in the WCS Sports Conference. One game I know that'll be on schedule that'll be a big game for Ravenwood. Obviously, it's the Centennial rematch. Last year, that was the Monsoon Bowl, if you will. It was during a huge storm. The only loss for Ravenwood. Centennial also, being a state semifinalist last year. Obviously, you have Franklin. Battle of the Woods. If you don't know about it, you will know about it. That'll be huge this year. Ravenwood will have to go on the road to Brentwood for the Battle of the Woods. I mean, so there's a lot of interesting stories there. So what are some things that attracted you most to the Ravenwood job?
Yeah, there's a plethora of things. The administration's great. As we talked about before, the support, the community is absolutely phenomenal. It's just a place that you really want to be. You want to be there on game day. A lot of big games to be played in. I love the rivalries. I've been at USC. We have 2 great rivalries, and USC UCLA and USC Notre Dame, and it's absolutely a blast to be a part of those. And really, that's something we want to dominate. We want to dominate those rivalries, and that's a great goal to shoot for.
Well, the crowds won't be near as big, but I can promise you, for a high school Friday night, they'll be as big as you can find anywhere. So fill in the blank for me. What will your team be known for?
Being competitive.
Okay. What about the biggest struggle you've seen since you've been in high school? You go to college, hey, this is a problem. You get it fixed easily at the at the college level, at the pro level. What about the high school?
It takes a while to get things done, but.
Sure. I mean, there's processes that you do. If you're talking about just the hiring process alone, you firsthand knowledge of that, you understand that the hiring process, going through the HR department, getting licensure ready, all that has to be, there's so many moving pieces, whereas the college level, if you're the best coach for the job, you're going to get hired, regardless of what happens. But here on the high school level, that's a big issue. And it also goes back to what I was telling you earlier, too. You're having to do the best with what mom and daddy are sending you. You can't go out and get handpick who you want. But you have a large selection here. You're going to have triple digits of kids to pick from, which is always a good problem to have at the high school level. Not a lot of people have that problem. And, and develop them into what you want.
Spring ball, are you going to have you laid out that? You got the dates?
We do, yeah.
And then if so, are you going to scrimmage, or are you just going to work on yourself? And then kind of tell us, how do you plan on, and I know you're working on all this. Yeah. Right now, how do you plan on approaching spring ball?
Well, we're kicking off April 29th. We have a good build-up, like I said, with the Football 101 series so we can hit the ground running and being a well-oiled machine by the time we start spring ball. We will scrimmage Walker Valley. They're coming up to us on the 7th of May. So that'll be a good test for us.
Is that a Saturday by chance?
That's a Saturday, okay. Yes. And then really, up until that point, it's going to be just basic fundamentals and get really good at it. And then from there, we're actually going to be, scrimmaging ourselves to end spring ball. And we're going to go through a normal work week during the season, what that will look like, so the guys can start to get comfortable with it. And it should be a camp. It should be a good good several practices. We've got a lot of good stuff planned already, and it's really going to be something that's competitive, high energy, and really about the fundamentals and executing well.
Are you a shells kind of guy, a full gear kind of guy? You know, full speed to the whistle. Maybe I know a lot of that in the where you were. You know, you can't get anybody hurt on any level. But some of the levels he was at, you get the wrong guy hurt, you could lose your job over that, man. You know, so how do you? Are you just? Is that going to be again something that you feel out?
Well, you know, at this level, we have guys who are a lot less experienced with full pads, so we have to get enough work in with full pads. There's no doubt about it. I believe that you can absolutely get just as good of work in shells as you can in pads, but we got to get to that point. When that time comes, I don't know. I don't know if it'll be in spring or if it'll be in fall, maybe the middle of the season. I don't know. We'll play that by ear.
Well, explain to us, you were talking about it off the air. Explain to us what the tweaks you're doing as far as the conditioning and weightlifting to translate into the plays.
Yeah, so right now we're starting off with kind of an adaptive phase to get them good at what we're asking them to do. So rather than doing what most programs do where you push a kid through and you get a rep every 30 seconds and it just kind of wears them out and they don't have everything to give every single rep, we're going to space out their conditioning reps and get them to go full speed and have enough time to recover enough to kind of come back at full speed the next time. So that's the only thing they're adapting to is that full speed, that full effort. And really working in the weight room. You know, we've got a fantastic, weight program. I learned a lot from a strength coach who won national championships at University of Tennessee, USC, and now the Seattle Seahawks. We got a great program that really, I think for me, it helped me become an athlete.
What about your guys? You got plans with your coaching staffs coming up soon?
We do, yeah. This Thursday, we're actually heading to Texas A&M to do some professional development. I've got some great coaches down there, and Coach Sumlin, Noel Mazzoni, who I work with at Ole Miss, is going to have us down there, and they got some great defensive coaches as well, so it'll be a really good learning opportunity for us.
It'll be fun. Maybe you can give him some pointers. You know, he's had a few quarterback transfers in the offseason. That's a joke. I like someone, but that would be something to be interesting to look at. Tell us about if you look at the middle school, something that obviously they've got a coach in place. But I think we now are going to be where 100% of the kids come from Woodland. So talk a little bit real quick about how you can incorporate that into your feeder system to where when they get to you, they already know your stuff.
The most important thing I think is really just the fundamentals of football, understanding how to tackle, how to block, how to run routes, how to throw. And if we can get that established, because one year we might be a little bit more zone read option stuff, and the next year we might be a under center slinging it team, and that's gonna evolve with our players. So getting those fundamentals is really the biggest
Share
thing.
Philosophies.
Yes, absolutely.
It's the only way you can win.
Yep.
So when they get up there, it's not foreign to them.
Yep.
Well, Coach Wessman, thank you so much for joining us. This has been Coach Richie Wessman, the new head coach of the Ravenwood Raptors football program, May 7th versus Walker Valley at Ravenwood. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Well, we look forward to seeing that. Thank you so much for
It's been
joining
a
us
pleasure.
today.
Thank you very much.
This has been WCS Sports Connection. We'll see you next time.
Rain Again by Gail Bunton Haddock. It's green again now that the rain has come back. I've been out in it. My feet are wet and getting cold, but no matter. The land was parched, the leaves brittle dry with fire and ever-present threat. With the rain has come a hush. It has settled on the far hills and across the fields. We were ready for the relief of this rain. Sometimes slow and soft, sometimes hard and slanting on a rush of wind, and then a quietness that heals the brutality of a too long drought.